Yo, Jason here, Dental Lighthouse Podcast. Recording this from a parking lot of a speed camp. A little context here. My youngest boys, are not too fast. They have their dad's genetics, which is unfortunate for them. So in an effort to give them every possible opportunity to become the best athletes they can be, we have been sending them to this speed camp. Little do they know that it's almost impossible to overcome the athletic genetics that I have given them. But that's a conversation that I will have with them later on in life. So they're trying their best, trying to get as fast as possible. They're very small, so they need to get faster so they don't get hit by kids that are much bigger than them. But I digress. So I wanted to spend some time talking to you guys today about a situation that I personally have had to deal with at work over the last week. And as someone that tries to eat their own cooking, I just felt like it was a good opportunity to kind of unpack the situation. As I talk it out, maybe I can learn from it. And as you guys hear about this situation, maybe you guys can learn from it. So if you've been listening to the podcast, or if you're a coaching client of mine, then you've definitely heard me talking about different levels of accountability. And just to keep it simple, there's really two levels of accountability: what I call peer-to-peer accountability and what I call triangular accountability. And anytime that there's accountability, it's a benefit. But triangular accountability, and I'll unpack exactly what that is here in a second, is a level of accountability that's just much slower. It's filled with friction. It's not ideal. And peer-to-peer accountability is what we're ultimately striving for. So let me take a step back and give you guys a little bit of context on a few things, and then I'll dive into the actual situation, and maybe we can all learn from it. So I am a huge fan of Patrick Lencioni. He has a model that he rolled out when he wrote his book, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. I, as you guys have put my own spin on that model. So if you're listening to this, I just want you to visualize a pyramid, okay? This is the model. At the bottom of the pyramid is a big, strong base, and at the top of the pyramid is a peak. At the top of our model, or our pyramid, is what we call winning. And winning ultimately compiles of 3 different things. I'm not going to unpack that here. But at the end of the day, that's the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to be winning, or the ultimate goal is to win. Now, you can define winning however you want. And we define winning a specific way. And the base of the pyramid, as you guys know, is trust and vulnerability. Once you have trust and vulnerability amongst the team, you can have healthy debate or conflict in meeting settings and one-on-one. Once you have that, you commit to something. Now, once you have that, the next level before winning is what we call peer-to-peer accountability. And peer-to-peer accountability is having the courage to have team members that are on the same level of your accountability chart talk to each other, and say something to the effect of, hey, how you just acted there kind of goes against what we stand for, goes against our core values, goes against winning. Just wanted to make you aware of it. Or something like, in last week's meeting, we decided that this is the new way we're going to handle a new patient, or this is the new way that we're going to present treatment, or whatever. And if you see someone not following suit or not following that protocol, then through peer-to-peer accountability, you can go to that person from a position of empathy and curiosity and be like, hey, Mary, we talked about doing this particular thing this particular way, and I noticed you're not doing that. What's going on? Did you not agree with what we talked about at the meeting, and stuff like that. So that's what we're striving for. And that's hard. That's really, really hard to do. It's hard to get team members to buy in, to have courage, to develop the courage to do that. Once you get that momentum going, it's amazing how much easier things are. So that's peer-to-peer accountability. The other accountability is triangular accountability. So how triangular accountability plays out is you see someone at work doing something that's not ideal, right? Instead of going to that person from a peer-to-peer accountability perspective, again, from a perspective of curiosity and empathy, and instead of asking questions, what's going on, trying to help coach them up, even though you're not their team lead, you're a coworker, you're a team member, but we're ultimately trying to grow each other. That's the whole basis of servant leadership. So instead of going to that person, you go to that person's lead or office manager or doctor or what have you. And you go to that person and you say to the lead, hey, I just want you to know, ... I just want you to know that Mary's not doing what we agreed upon when she's presenting treatment to a new patient. Or I just want you to know that Mary's responsible for stocking room 5, and I came into work this morning and room 5 wasn't stocked. Or I just want you to know that we were all rallying at the end of the day to get the rooms cleaned and turned over, and Mary left early, right? So whenever you're faced with that situation of triangular accountability, it can get really uncomfortable. Now, first and foremost, it is a decent level of accountability. So you're glad that someone came to you and at least mentioned that Mary had some type of shortcoming, some type of gap in expectations compared to behavior. But this is typically how that triangular accountability situation goes, right? So the person comes to you, hey, just so you're aware, Mary left early yesterday while the rest of us were still busy working, right? So now you as the leader have to go to Mary and say to Mary, hey, Mary, someone, unfortunately you can't really say who that person is, which in and of itself is a problem. Someone came to me this morning and had referenced that over the last couple of days, you had left a little early while the rest of the team was busy working, shutting down the operatories, vacuuming the hallway, stuff like that. I just need you to understand that that's not how we roll, that one of our core values is teamwork. So instantly Mary's going to get defensive because she's going to say something like, well, who said that? Or that's not true. And now you're stuck in this triangle of, you don't really know if it's true or not because you didn't see it with your own eyes. You're going based off of what someone said to you. They came to you and said, hey, you should know that Mary's doing ... And, or give me Mary will say something like, give me a specific example of this. It's just not ideal, right? So does it work? Yes. Is it better than not saying anything? Yes. But it's not nearly as fluid and efficacious as peer-to-peer accountability. So again, with peer-to-peer accountability, someone sees Mary leaving early. Let's say Jane sees Mary leaving early, or Jane notices that Mary didn't stock room 5. And instead of Jane coming to me to go to talk to Mary, Jane has the courage, has the character to talk directly to Mary. She has seen the benefits of peer-to-peer accountability. So she goes in directly talks to Mary and says, hey, Mary, I came into work this morning and room 5 was not stocked. I know that that's your responsibility the day before. Can you help me understand what's going on? I just want to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Because it really puts us behind in the morning when we're ready to go with patients. I reach into a drawer and I realize that the bonding agent's not there. We talk about consequences of specific behaviors when we're having accountability conversations. So those are the two types of accountability. So anyways, with that backdrop, I have an assistant, again, let's call her Mary, who's phenomenal. from a clinical perspective. She's been with our office almost, I would guess, almost 15 years, to be honest with you. She was one of my primary assistants for a good 5 or 6 years, and I taught her a lot, and she was like a sponge. She learned a lot. She understood how I do things, and she always had this edge about her, in terms of perhaps talking a little condescending to other team members, being a little passive aggressive with other team members, maybe acting like a doctor or a position, someone in a position of authority when she really wasn't. And it always kind of rubbed people the wrong way. But when I was directly working with her, I could quote unquote rein that in because I was constantly present with her. Again, rare that I've worked with a better clinical assistant, but some of the other things that were occurring were tough. But being someone that has developed a decent level of courage, I would have peer-to-peer accountability sessions with her all the time. We call them minute meetings. We say going into the storm. So in the moment when I would observe or overhear how she was talking to a fellow coworker, and if I felt it was passive aggressive or demeaning or derogatory or any of those things, it would be a very, very easy conversation. Hey, Mary, I just overheard how you were talking to Jane. You may not have realized it, but it came across very condescending, very passive aggressive. You know, that's not how we do things here. I'm not sure if you were aware that that's how you were coming across, but I need you to know that from my perspective, that's how you came across. And I would appreciate it if you try to rectify that situation, not talk to people that way. And I also think it would be great for you to go apologize to Jane for how you just behaved. And it worked, right? Because in the moment, I was able to identify the gap in expectations from Mary, and she heard me as her leader, and she would rectify the situation. And then maybe 3-4 weeks later, another situation popped up. But that was our cadence. Like that's what happened. It worked because I have the courage to go into the storm and set up quick minute meetings because I want Mary to win. I want her to become the best version of herself. I want her to realize the level of impact and influence she has on other team members. And when she chooses to communicate poorly, communicate passively, aggressively, be more of a dictator, then her influence is for bad, not for good. And that's not fair to her. Now, if she's acting this way due to lack of self-awareness, due to lack of reading the room, then she'll just need constant coaching until she ultimately gets it. But if she's acting this way, trying to get away with something, then having me call her out on a regular basis is what was working. So you kind of fast forward to today, or where we are now, and I no longer practice clinically, and I've been hearing rumblings of Mary acting in this, let's call it negative way, right? Being condescending to other people, talking passively aggressively, not being a great team player, still a phenomenal clinical assistant, but outside of the room, the wheels are coming off. So she can be very intimidating. She's a more experienced assistant. And at our last organizational leadership meeting, I was asked to have a conversation with her because I have some influence with her. So we got on the phone and we started talking this through, and I had shared with her what I was hearing. Again, triangular accountability. So a number of people have come to me and say, you really need to talk to Mary. She's doing this, this, and this, right? And I agreed, and I got on the phone, and wouldn't you know it, Mary's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think I'm doing that. Can you give me specific situations? And I can't, right? So because I wasn't there, I don't have the resources or the ability to be right there and have clarity with specifically what she's doing. So it's all hearsay. It's all gossip. I mean, to a lesser extent. So people are trying to give me examples, and then I'm basically a conduit or a tunnel communicating these examples to her, to Mary. And then Mary's like, oh, that happened 3 weeks ago, which it probably did. Or that's not how it played out. That's not what happened. Who knows? So when you have this level of triangular accountability, this is what you're up against. So how do you solve for this, right? So again, when I was working with Mary on a daily basis, on an intimate basis, it was very, very easy for me to have peer-to-peer accountability conversations with her in the moment, right? As soon as I hear something, boom. And even if I didn't have time at that moment, it was always me going to Mary and say, hey, before you go to lunch, you and I need to have a 5-minute conversation. Or before you leave for the day, you and I need to have a five-minute conversation. And address and correct the behavior, right? It always works. Now, because I'm not intimately working with her, how do we figure out a way to continue peer-to-peer accountability? Because like I've just said, that's definitely the way that works best. So what we've decided to do in this situation is me go specifically to the people that she works closest with, her doctor, the hygienist that she works with closely, her assistant in her pod, and basically what we say, open up the kimono and say, hey, look, I just had a conversation with Mary about some of these behaviors that are not ideal. She's struggling to identify when she's actually behaving this way. Now, that could either be lack of self-awareness, or it could be that she's not behaving that way. Again, I don't know, and I don't want to assume. And then me going to these other people, I need you to help keep Mary accountable, to help her grow, to help her have influence for good. So if you are part of her misbehaving, or you observe her misbehaving, and again, when I use the term misbehaving, I mean just acting out in a way that goes against our core values. So talking condescending, not being a team player, being passive aggressive. If you are observing these behaviors, I need you to step up, go into the storm, and have a conversation with her in the moment about it. I'm giving you permission. Mary has told me I can give you permission. Mary wants to be better. Mary lacks the awareness that this is really going on. So when she behaves this way, she's given everyone that works with her permission to bring this up to her. Now, again, when you bring this up to her, a couple things have to happen. It's got to be from a position of empathy and curiosity, saying something like, Mary, what you just said to me really makes me feel like shit, and I don't appreciate it. I know you're a good person. I know that you don't mean to come off like that, but based on what you gave me permission to do, I'm letting you know that what you just said to me or how you said it makes me feel like shit. Perfect. So now Mary, and I've had this conversation with her, she needs to actually be an active and empathetic listener when someone's giving her this feedback, and not become adversarial, and not react right away, but take a moment to process what she heard and ultimately try to respond the right way. So all of what I've just said is very, very hard to do, right? But I have personally found the team members, the leaders that have embraced this philosophy and have practiced this philosophy have gotten so much better in their ability to lead and their ability to manage expectations with their teams and their coworkers, that there's no other way to do it. If you can't develop the courage and the character to have these conversations, then long term, you will never get to the level or the potential that you could get to. You guys have heard me say in the servant leadership course, when we don't go into the storm and have an uncomfortable conversation with someone, who really benefits? Is it the person that's misbehaving? Do they benefit? No, because they lack the awareness that they are misbehaving and they don't have anyone coaching them up to get better. Is it the business that benefits? No, because if you have people misbehaving or not being great core value fits, then it's holding the company back. The only person that benefits when you don't go into the storm and have an uncomfortable conversation is you, because you don't need to develop the courage and character to do it. And I would tell you that it's selfish. So if you're seeing behaviors that are against the core values, doesn't benefit that person that's behaving that way, doesn't benefit the business, you are the only person that benefits, because now you don't have to get uncomfortable and have that conversation. And that's the mindset that I need you guys to think about and to have. And that's the mindset that we are trying to preach to our 150 employees on a daily basis, because you can't manage everything period. You can't be present all the time, period. So this idea, this culture of peer-to-peer accountability, having minute meetings, going into the storm, going into these conversations from a position of curiosity and empathy, it's everything. And when you can start to encourage this behavior, that's when you'll start to take off exponentially. So hopefully that resonates with you guys. Appreciate you listening. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns about that. Shoot me an email or text, and we can talk about it a little bit further if you're interested. Later.